Alright, so our next unit is circles. We will be doing circles for a while. So instead of doing multiple foldables or multiple sets of notes, we are going to be making a circle book. It's really important to know that we will be using and adding to this book as we go on, and it's actually multiple units together, and it actually spans for quite a few weeks. So because we are doing so much and investing so much time in this book, it will end up being a minor grade once we finish our circles units. Alright, so you need to first make sure you have all your supplies. You need one of the manila envelopes, which is this yellow looking thing with the clasp. You need 10 sheets of colored paper. If you want to use different colors, that's fine. If you just want to use one color, I don't care. You also need one glue stick, and then if you want to use pens or markers because these are notes, go ahead and have those out as well. So you first want to take that envelope I gave you, and you want to fold it in half, but you are only folding it to that line that I've drawn. You can see it if you kind of lift up the flap of your envelope. When you are done, your folder or your envelope should look like this, folded in half. Make sure you do not fold it all the way to this end. You are only folding it to that line that I just showed you. You're then going to make sure you take all 10 of your pieces of paper and fold them in half. I suggest doing one by one. If you want to do them all at once, that is your choice, but if you do mess your papers up, I'm not giving you any more. You're going to fold all 10 pages of your colored paper together, just like the first picture shows. And then once you have done that, you're going to put them inside each other, and all 10 should look like a book together. Our book pages, of course, are going to be the colored papers, and the envelope is going to be our cover. So you need to take your pages and put them inside your envelope, and you need to line it up with the middle of your fold in your envelope. When you're done with this process, you're now going to staple your pages and your cover together. You're going to put 3 staples, one on the top, bottom, and in the middle. Please make sure you are stapling the cover and your paper. So if your paper isn't all the way up to the top or all the way to the bottom, adjust where your staples are based on your book. This is what your book should look like, minus the fact that it should be stapled in. But we are now going to go through and label our pages. You are not putting a page number on the cover, and you are not putting a page number on this first blue sheet. You're going to flip that first blue page over, and this is where you're going to start numbering. So 1 is on the left, 2 is on the right. You're going to do this through the entire book, all the way to the last blue sheet, but not on the cover. And I'll let you know how many pages you should have. After you've labeled all the pages, you should end up with 39 pages labeled, not including that back cover. So make sure you have that. I would do it in pencil first, or if you're comfortable with it, go ahead and do it in pen. But remember, if you mess up, I will not give you more pages. You should also have this table of contents page. In a minute, you are going to cut it out. We're going to fill in the first few blanks, though, so make sure you fill this in so you don't have to write on wet glue. So page 1 and page 2 are going to be dedicated to our vocab, so you can go ahead and fill that out. Page 3 and 4, we are going to practice that vocab, and we're going to name parts of the circle. And then finally for today, pages 5 and 6 are going to be some of the formulas we're going to use with circles. You may or may not get to the formula part. If you do, you're just going to be copying mine. If you don't, you may have to do it for homework. So you're going to go ahead and cut out the left and the right side. The left side is what you're going to glue on the envelope on the inside. And the right side, you're going to glue on that blank blue page. So it will look something like this once you've got them glued in. Remember, the left side's on the envelope, right side is on that unmarked blue page. Yours, of course, 1 through 6 is already filled out. We're now going to work on what's going on pages 1 and 2, which is the vocab. So you should have the vocab sheet that I handed out to everyone. It looks like this. If you don't have it, you need to get it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fill out one by one. I'm going to explain it to you, just talk to it a little bit, and then I'm going to tell you how to glue it into your book. Now, we won't hit too much on this today, but we will get more in depth, and you do need to know this vocab, otherwise circles will be really confusing. Alright, so the first of these we're going to fill out, of course, is circle. So a circle is the set of points equidistant, which is just equal distance, from a given point, the center. In this case, I labeled my center as P, so we would call this circle, circle P. The next one is radius, and what the radius is a segment. So remember, there's 2 endpoints. It's not a line that goes forever, with endpoints at the center and on the circle. So here's our drawing. We have P at the center still, and the end point now is A. It doesn't matter where on the circle A lands, but it does have to land on the circle. So your radius starts at the center and ends on the circle. This next one is a chord, and this is a segment with endpoints on the circle. The last one, radius, it had endpoints, and one endpoint was on the circle and one was in the center. Both of these endpoints for a chord are on the circle. So the drawing would look like this. You have a segment with endpoints J and K. Both endpoints are on the circle. There's no talk about the center. We're now talking about the diameter, and this is a chord, but this chord passes through the center. It's also important to know that your diameter is 2 times the radius. So the diameter is 2 of the radius is half of the diameter. So here's your drawing. It passes through P, or as close as possible. Your drawings may be off because mine is. And the endpoints A and B are on the end of the circle, but it is important to know it's a chord that goes through the center. We're now moving on to tangent, and we have done tangent with trig. This is a little bit of a different tangent. So you need to know a tangent in regard to circles is a line that intersects a circle at exactly 1 point. So in your drawing, you have a line with points P, Q, and R on it. The only one that intersects the circle is Q. It is kind of difficult to see, but P and R are just on the line. They do not touch the circle. So we do have our tangent. We have our point of tangency, and all that is a specific point that the tangent line intersects the circle. So we still have our tangent like we did in the last example, but the specific point of tangency would be Q. We're now going to move on to secant. Secant is a line that intersects the circle in 2 places. So you have your drawing, you have your line, you have points X and Y, and those are the points where that line crosses or intersects the circle. Up next, we have the central angle. So the secant is an angle with the vertex at the center, and the 2 sides of the angle are radii. So here's your drawing. You have center P, you have A and B, which are the 2 radii sides, and we would call this angle APB or angle BPA. Our next one is an inscribed angle. It is very similar to central angle, but we have changes in the vertex and of course the 2 sides. Our inscribed angle is an angle with its vertex on the circle, so on the dark line, and 2 sides that are chords. So make sure you know what a chord is, otherwise you'll be really confused. So here's your drawing. You have C as our vertex. It's on that circle. A and B are on the circle as well, and the 2 sides, AC and CB, are chords. We're now going to get into the 2 arcs we have. We have a minor arc and a major arc. So the first one up is the minor arc. So the minor arc is an arc with a measure less than 180 degrees. For the minor arc, you're going to use 2 letters to name, and for both arcs, you need to know the symbol, which I've included down at the bottom. So I've drawn A and B on the circle, and I've included that minor arc. I've highlighted it in blue. It's less than 180 degrees. So with the major arc, this is an arc with a measure greater than 180 degrees, so it's the opposite of the minor, and we use 3 letters to name it. So when you look here, we have arc ACB, and of course that is greater than 180 degrees, which is a short line. So I'm going to show you how to name both the minor and major real quick. There's nothing to it. So remember, we use that little curve, that arc symbol, and so the minor arc would be arc AB, and the major arc would be arc ACB. So minor has 2 letters, major has 3. On the major one, you go in order of the letters as you follow the circle around, so A, then C, and then B. So our last word we have is semicircle, and that is an arc with endpoints on the diameter, so it's going to go through the center, and it's always equal to 180 degrees. So when you look, it is that arc, and we would name it arc JKL. So make sure you do have all these vocab words filled in, all the pictures drawn. You're going to need them, and we're going to go ahead and cut it out now and put it into your book. I'm going to cut it out and I'm going to glue it in and show you how it needs to be glued in, and then you take the time to do that. So when you're done cutting out and gluing, it should look like this. Make sure you have the right ones on page 1, the correct ones on page 2. I would line them up to the edge of the colored paper to glue them in. Otherwise, when you turn the pages, they may fold over and they may crush it, or it may not fit on your page. On pages 3 and 4, you're going to practice that vocab that we just did. So on 3, you're going to glue in that picture that has the 2 triangles and all the lines. On page 4, I've given you 20 problems. You need to label them what they are. So on number 1, LQ, you need to find segment LQ on the 2 circles. And if you look, that intersects the circle at 1 point, so we call that a tangent. So you're going to do that for all 20. It's going to be using that vocab we just did on pages 1 and 2. When you are done, you need to show me that your book is done for today. You can go ahead and pack up. If you have something to do for another class, you need to work on that. Otherwise, you can have the rest of your time to be on the Chromebooks to do something you need to do on there. We will be going on to the formulas for circles next, so we should continue that on Wednesday.